Ash and I got to speak to a few athletes as part of funding for more diverse voices in media. Who did you get to speak to?
I got to speak to Jerome, Kaino, Symone, Tafuna'i and Melodie Robinson. What about you?
I got to speak to Katelyn Tuivaiti, Andrew Fifita and Mark Hunt.
And what are they up to now?
So Kat was, when I talked to her, she was like explaining about her journey through motherhood and getting back into the court. And she was out for like 8 weeks, I think, in total with a calf injury by the time she got up to 7 Stars, who she's playing for at the moment, in the Vitality Netball Super League up in the Northern Hemisphere. But she's back on the court now. And yeah, it's real cool to see her doing her thing.
Right?
Yeah.
Mama athletes are awesome.
Mamas, getting back into it. And then Andrew Fifita, he's got this really cool app. So when I talked to him, he was like explaining to me about his mental health journey. And then he's actually created an app for like mental health and wellbeing. And last year he had this like real gnarly accident when he almost died from it in a game against the Knights last season. And then he's actually come back from that and he's like playing NRL again. So yeah, it's been cool to see him back into it. And Mark Hunt, it was around his doco and you can watch that online now.
Yeah. Well, my people, Jerome, he decided to stay on in France and he's gone from playing to coaching, but he's doing it in the development academies over there in Toulon. Simmy's actually got her first job in one new sport, so like digital reporting, which is awesome because that's basically what she went to do her training with Mel with. And Mel's just doing Mel things where she's doing awesome stuff, getting more diverse women into sports media, and then she's also trying to ramp up the promotion of the Rugby World Cup 2021, which is coming to Aotearoa in October. So yeah, they're doing pretty awesome things at the moment.
So what's made headlines recently, Ash?
Vituera Ross-Taylor recently retired from cricket. Vituera Ross-Taylor retired from cricket after 450 games, 16 years for the Black Caps. He bowed out as the leading test run scorer and first equal most capped test player in New Zealand history. And emotional Frost had his 3 children beside him when they were singing the national anthem, and then his Samoan mother Anne left like an emotional message to him, beamed across Eden Park in Hamilton when the final match was over. It was so cute. Yeah, we caught up with Tars Lock, Sera Naiqama, who is also Fijian, and because she played the Fijiana a couple of weeks ago, and it would have been, so we're going to find out what she had to say about the game. And she's also doing amazing things in the Pacific women in media space because they've got her on Stan Sport commentating. She's been doing the ground announcing for like the NRLW, the AFL as well. She is doing all of the things.
All of the things.
All of the things that she is doing. Yes.
Going up against Fijiana Drill was a huge challenge for us. We always knew it was going to be, just because they're a team in the competition. They're a new team, I should say, in the competition. So we weren't revealed, I guess, to the pace that they play as well as the intensity. And we certainly did our research on them in ways that we thought that we could insert ourselves into the game. But my goodness, they just played some fast rugby, particularly in that opening 5. And I guess based on some poor execution from the Waratahs and including myself, unfortunately we fell to them. But that being said, it was a fantastic game of rugby. They threw everything they had at us, and although it was a great win for them, it was a little bit disheartening for us to lose against them. So that fixture was, because it was a top of the table clash, 1v2, them being in 1, New South Wales Waratahs being 2. Whoever won solidified their place in the grand final. So we now have one more regular round, including every single team in the competition, one more regular round, and then it's a 2v3 playoff, which Fijiana Drill will have a bye, and whoever wins that 2v3, they will face them down in Melbourne in the Super Round, which will be pretty fabulous. The Wallaroos this week actually confirmed 2 fixtures that will take place in May. The first one being against Fijiana, and then a couple days later, actually a few days later, then we have Japan. And yes, both of those test matches are immense for the Wallaroos because we haven't had a test match since 2019, and the fact that we get to host them here on home soil is pretty special for a lot of us. So all of that is to begin our preparations for the World Cup, which will take place in New Zealand later this year. Oh my goodness, it's so early to tell, just because I think there are, like, everyone is still yet to play their best test footy. But, you know, one team that I do think will be a force to reckon with is Fijiana. Just experiencing them here or within the Super W, word has it that a lot of those girls will be part of their national squad. And if they, you know, maintain the level of intensity and the way that they move the ball, way that they've shown us, I think they'll give everyone a good run for their money. But that being said, the Wallaroos are certainly up for the challenge, and we'll be throwing everything we have to compete at World Cup.
So switching codes, the Kiwis have just announced that they're going to take on Tonga, and it's going to be at Mount Smart Stadium. So Sea of Red, MMT, baby.
You're ready for the big round.
Yeah, and it's announced for a game in June, and it'll be taking place the second weekend of Origin. So you'll have Origin and
banger.
Yeah. But it also means that the island players, the Tongan boys that they've been recruiting to play for Origin, won't be able to play in Origin this year. They'll have to be playing for.
They'll have to choose.
Yeah. Origin or Tonga.
Yeah, I think they'll go for Tonga.
Tegan. Yeah. I think that's how they do Tegan.
Is that how you do MMT?
Yeah.
And the last bit of news for the headlines recently is the Professional Women's Basketball League that was introduced in Aotearoa recently. So,
I didn't even know they didn't have one.
So, and they're on par, equal with payment for the men. So it's the first professional league. It's called Tauihi Basketball Aotearoa. 5 teams, and the 5 have just announced, which is like the mid-northern, so Bay of Plenty, have just announced their second signing with Tuivaiti. So she's Cook Island and Tongan, I think. And she just came back too. She's been doing awesome things. She just came back from the Asia Cup in Doha, where she's just been part of the 3-on-3 championship team, which means that they qualify for the FIBA World Cup 3-on-3 in June this year.
Oh, and do they get it at the Commonwealth Games too?
Yes, they do. They are.
Because it's like the
3-on-3.
3-on-3 new sport.
Good work.
Yes.
See, this is why we need co-hosting. So that you remind us that Com Games is coming up as well. So that's what's been happening in the headlines. The Newcastle Knights missed out on the NRLW finals, but Katelyn Vaha'akolo got her first taste of the competition this year. Let's see what she has to say about it.
I just learnt so much, and like I've never learnt so much in a campaign before, and I just felt very privileged and grateful to be able to have this as my first experience, because I had a bunch of the NZ girls come with me. It was amazing. It was cool to play. It was cool to be in like an atmosphere like that. It's obviously so different from New Zealand, but I definitely enjoyed it and I enjoyed playing. So yeah, it was cool. Just to like always be working to earn your spot in a team. You could be the best player or the strongest player in your position or just in the whole team, but I just think you should always be training and playing like you're trying to earn your spot. I think that's the biggest lesson I learned. And that even when you are the best player, like you can always learn something, you can always develop, you can always evolve in the sport that you play. That's probably the biggest lesson that I learned. It was so hard. Like I've always been quite an independent person, so I thought I'd be fine. But being in my family, oh my goodness, it was just a massive sacrifice. Definitely worth it though. Yeah. But Knights, just they provided everything for us when we moved over, when we relocated. So we were taken care of over there. So I was really lucky to be a part of that club, the Dragons.
Really?
But Yes, but I played so bad in that game. I found them the hardest. Obviously, every game had its challenges, but yeah, I mean, 40 to 4 score. I'm all about my culture. Like, I'm all about where I come from. I'm very proud to represent where I come from and my Polynesian side. Like, to be able to do that alongside other Polynesian people from home, well, it was awesome. Yeah, that was definitely a highlight for me. My goal is to make the World Cup team for the Kiwi Ferns, so I'm just going to be training. Yeah. Training and playing club and just manifesting that I get there. It is a big thing over there with media. Like, there was always media, like, wherever we went as a team, but like I never felt forced to do anything or have to, like, I can still be myself, obviously. I think when you're in a professional environment, there's obviously certain things that you have to watch out for within the media, but I felt comfortable in that space, and yeah, it was all good.
And now for our round of reckons with Ms. Ashley Stanley.
So this round of reckons is promoting women's sport and women in sport is crucial to gaining more traction and investment in the codes. So we touched on it. The NRLW from the outset look like they do it pretty well. Super W, probably not so super.
Even Alpiki.
Yeah, they haven't, but I mean, unfortunately, Super W is because it's not aired in New Zealand. So,
yes.
You know, but their clubs could be better at promoting on their own social channels.
Yeah.
I mean, this week, Locker Room, which is Newsroom's dedicated section for women in sport, reported that last month, Sky Sport had over nearly nearly 70% of total viewing hours was women's sport. 14 of their top 20 slots, highest slots on the Skybox was women's sport. So like, and I know, and it makes sense to me because like last month, I think over a weekend, I was having to go in between the Amazing Cricket Women's World Cup, NRLW, ANZ Premiership Netball, and the Super Rugby Aupiki, all on one weekend. So my first round of reckons is, if you promote it properly and you give us a platform, then people will watch it.
There'll be eyeballs.
Yeah. The product is good. It was only going to get better. What do you reckon?
I reckon.
You reckon? Yeah.
I reckon. Yeah.
So give us more, right?
Yeah.
Give women's sport more.
And now it's time for Did You Know? Elite Netball in New Zealand is celebrating 25 years. That's pretty cool. Did you play netball?
Tried. Not very well. You?
Yeah, I play netball.
Of course.
I was goldie and goalkeeper.
Yeah, I can tell.
So there have been different names and setups, but a panel of experts selected the top 25 players of the last 25 years, and just under 30% of players are of Pacific heritage, including Billy Minor Double, Bernice Mene, and current player Sulu Fitzpatrick.
So what's coming up? We've got Super Rugby Pacific Super Round in Melbourne. Moana Pasifika taking on the Drua Maple team.
Yes. And they'll all be in Melbourne. Are all the teams in Melbourne for the Super Round? And that's on April 30th, I think? Yeah. So then the NFL draft we've also got coming up on the 28th of April. So many Pacific kids get drafted in this. We've had, by memory, Marcus Mariota, Tuatanga Vailoa, Penei Sewell got drafted last year. Juju Smith-Schuster.
And you know why I remember him? This is why different people watch sport for different reasons. I remember when he was drafted, his family, they shot them like running into the ocean. And I followed him purely on that. And
they were crying and they had this massive like feed and stuff. Yeah. And I was like,
oh. Yeah, exactly. So people follow things for different reasons, and that's got a like and a follow from me.
Yes.
Yes.
We've also got the NBA playoffs coming up. Easter weekend, which is this weekend. Pacific people that are in the NBA. Steven Adams, also T-Gang, Tongan. He's playing for the Grizzlies, and they're currently number 2 in the Western Conference, which is me. Have you been watching this? Ja Morant, man. So good.
Yes. All of the basketball I have been watching.
Yeah.
The women's basketball.
Stephen has been killing it this year. And then Paddy Mills, we're going to claim him because he's Torres Strait Islander, so we're claiming him as Pacific as well. He plays for the Brooklyn Nets and then number 8 on the Eastern Conference. So yeah.
To round out the first episode of Coco Sports Talk, leave us a couple of some nice comments in the comment section for feedback. But also, if you have any family members doing awesome things of Pacific heritage, let us know. And we want to blast them, so let us know as well in the comment section about them. And thank you so much for tuning in for the first one. We'll be back hopefully if we have enough funding and people watch us.